Okay, so today we're playing a game. It's the one sentence challenge, I think it's called. Whenever you were a kid, did you ever play that game where you write a sentence, then you pass the paper to the next person, and then based off of your sentence, they then write the next sentence, and then the fold the paper over so the next person can only see the last sentence, and you keep going until you have a short story, and then you read it and it's nonsense. I went to my Discords. I have a public server, public Discord, and then I have a Patreon Discord. I went to both of them. We played this game, and I'm gonna read you some stories. Jim was walking down the sidewalk one day when he saw something unusual on the side of the road. He went to take a closer look, and he could not believe his eyes. Before him was a tiny fairy yawning. 5 more minutes, please, the tiny fairy said, going back to sleep. The fairy was older than time, and therefore wise, so she knew that really being awake was the worst thing ever. The fairy awoke as promised. "You got any peanut butter on you?" she asked, and I began to remove my jar of peanut butter from my pocket. She jumped back and gave a loud hiss that made me jump. "Don't be afraid. It's just peanut butter," I said quickly. "I'm allergic, you fool," she replied, backing away. Oh, so she wanted to know if there was peanut butter so that she could protect herself. But I also feel like she could have avoided this whole situation if she didn't say anything at all. Because, I mean, the peanut butter was all hidden away. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" I asked, throwing the peanut butter across the room in panic. My companion looked at me sorrowfully, but said nothing. It seemed that the peanut butter was too little, too late. And that is the story of how the poor fairy was killed by a rogue jar of peanut butter. May she rest in peace. It was a new day and everything started wrong. The first step out of his bed sprained his ankle. The fall upset a glass of water that hit him straight in the face. The sensation was neither pleasant nor refreshing, but at least it told him he wasn't dreaming. I would like to know, why would that be pleasant? But still, it was hard to believe it. What was going on? I had no idea, so I just fell asleep. Oh, that was the whole day. Oh man. He woke up, got hit in the face with water, and then went back to bed. That is a bad day. The next morning, I woke up refreshed and decided more drastic measures were required if I was ever going to get out of this mess. I make myself a coffee and go for it. Let's do it! This situation needs to be solved! I start running and spill the coffee all over myself, but I'm gonna go for it. He's now spilled coffee on himself too. It's time to go back to bed. The awful singing singing? When did we hear singing? The awful singing continues, screeching out like the notes of a rookie violin student. I'm glad they're singing too. The entire room was terrified, hearing the next song starting to come out of their mouth, for their singing was truly worse than any nightmare your small brain could conjure. Oh, how absurd, Gregory huffed, flapping an unimpressed hand and stomping off in search of the pub. That feels good. That's a good story. There was a noise, so they ran upstairs to check on it and found a ghost. Pale and translucent, it floated above the wooden floor menacingly. While floating, it realized the floor beneath it was disappearing. It yeeped and yelled as it realized it was somehow falling down, even though it was a ghost. It couldn't make sense of anything. What was up and down, or left and right? Everything and nothing seemed the same at the same time. Up and down were relative, and just like in many stories, what was right was wrong, and the wrong was right. As for left, no one really can ever be sure. It could be anything, although it is highly unlikely to be a cat. Cats had more style than producing such a sound, but maybe it was in pain, whatever it was. Outside the window, several literal feline cats? Outside the window, several literal feline cats joined in a demented soprano chorus, as if in competition with the sound. The sounds echoed and blended together, becoming so loud they could be heard from the highest points of the heavens above. Even Dedrich shifted in his lofty seat to peer down at what had made them. God rest his merry soul. He had no idea how his afterlife, once promised to be serene and bright, had been reduced to this drudgery of tasks, requiring his attention. There must have been some mistake in his previous life. Maybe he had mistakes doing his taxes. Maybe he had made mistakes doing his taxes, and now this was to be his never-ending punishment. He stared down at his blood-soaked hands. How did this happen? He stared down at his blood-soaked hands, feeling as though his soul was slipping away. Who was he now? Was there anything left? Or would he be tortured like this for all eternity? The punishment seemed far greater than his crime, and yet... But maybe he should just stop thinking and let his conscience slip deep, deep into the abyss. It was useless trying to fight anymore. Instead, he should just continue to exist, or not exist. Well, we'll just say he went to sleep too. That's a theme. It was a dark, dark day in a dark, dark wood, and Clyde, the fire-breathing dragon, sneezed, decimating the whole town with sneeze juice. It was worth the cleanup afterwards because they had reached their destination. We made it, Clyde. Look at all the cheese. Enough to make my weary eyes weep with joy, proclaimed Bubbles. Cheesy much? Bubbles asked, rolling his eyes. So I guess Bubbles said the thing to Clyde and then mocked himself for his own joke, which feels legit. The fairy clearly didn't agree with my opinion. There's a fairy in the story now. The fairy clearly didn't agree with my opinion, so she took out a katana and lunged at me. But she didn't know about my secret stash of dragon dust, the perfect weapon for any sudden duels. I got out my dragon dust to show her and tripped on a rock so it spilled out on my face. My face became a dragon, wings for ears. A look I never expected to pull off, but it was working. With my newfound sense of confidence, I hit the streets, drawing looks far and wide. I walked with the strut of a man with a zebra butt. I should have known that my impending doom was about to step right into my path. Literally. I greeted it cheerfully, not as to anger it into dooming me further. And then, with all the strength of my being, I shouted, "I hate dragons!" I'm pretty sure the person saying this has become a dragon. So legit? With an almighty sob, I started to turn away, not retreating, but finding an alternative path. There was a path right next to me that seemed alternative enough, so I went that way. But there was a ghost. Ghastly rogue. I had never seen anyone like that before. They oohed and awed at me before lunging. The impact was felt through my body and brought back the memories I repressed for so long. It even brought back the memory of Uncle Lionel and his black and white striped rear. I shuddered, dismissing the thought. But with my fading memory, I couldn't remember whether it was actually black and white or gold and blue, affected by the change in sunlight. Deciding it really didn't matter, I stepped through the gate. On the other side, a world engulfed in fire and ice, burning me with cold shivers. The proper end of times. Oh, he died. Oh, it ended with death. So if you're curious, the website that we use to do this is called Out of Context. So gather a group of friends, I guess, start a game, and create chaos, if you please. Thank you to everybody in my Discords that participated in this, that created these stories. I hope you enjoyed them. There is no point to this video, so I just hope you have a good day. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this video, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the second channel. I'll see you again soon. Bye.